In recent times, the NBA has been in a rough place. With players leaving or being kicked out, it's not looking good for the landscape of the sport. Mainly, we're seeing the players being very angry at the sport in whole and what's about to happen in the 2022 season. In today's list, we're going to go over why NBA players are furious at the moment. You won't want to miss the list. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos that we post. Now on to the list. First up, league suspensions. During the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, the NBA had been keeping a close eye on the topic. They had been speaking with public health control and agencies in the USA and Canada to stay on top of the situation. This eventually led to the NBA league being suspended on March 11, 2020. The league players were not happy that they had to stop playing the game, but it was the safest decision for the players and everyone involved with the sport. As we know, the pandemic went into full swing, so the NBA made the best decision possible. Next up, Rudy Gobert positive. The main reason the NBA league was suspended was because Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19. As we just said, this led to the suspension of the league in March of 2020. One player led to the entire league being shut down, which didn't sit well with a lot of players, but it was the best thing to do to keep everyone safe. After this announcement, the players were isolated in Walt Disney World. They bubbled in Disney World for a while, whilst the pandemic went to full swing. Next up, pandemic changes. Due to the pandemic and disruptions with it, the NCAA granted an additional year of eligibility to winter athletes, meaning that every senior in college basketball is eligible to return for an additional season in 2021 and 2022. This and other pandemic changes have stirred the pot with many players in the NBA. Lots of small changes have changed the flow of the sport and its surrounding players, making some of the players furious. Hopefully, the sport doesn't change too much so these players can calm down a little bit. Next up, not getting back to how it was. The pandemic is basically over, and the NBA is coming back. The latest season will not be returning to how it was, which is annoying some players. We know that things need to change in the world, but clearly a contact sport needs some changes to it. Even with the changes, the sport not being the same is not best for players. Even though it makes sense for the changes being what they are and the sport not being as it was, the players don't seem too happy. It seems like it's because of how it was done. They had no communication for a while, and these sudden changes make a large difference when it comes to playing the sport. Maybe they feel a little bit betrayed by the NBA and want more communication. Next up, Giannis Antetokounmpo injury. During the playoffs recently, Bucks player Giannis Antetokounmpo landed awkwardly in the third quarter against the Hawks. It was reported that he didn't suffer any ligament damage, which was originally feared for the player. His recent MRI also revealed that there was no structural damage, another relief for the player and the team. His timeline to the court is unclear and his status for the next game is uncertain. Hopefully, the player can recuperate quickly, otherwise it's going to cause even more trouble for players and the sport itself. Next up, Trae Young injury. Trae Young has been ruled out of the game after suffering a bone bruise in his right foot, which was announced prior to the tip-off of a recent match. Young obviously wanted to play in the game, but pain combined with lack of mobility worked against him. This is another huge blow to a lot of players in the NBA. Another player has been taken out of the season, which leads to even more frustration between players. It leaves the door open for another player to take the spot, but this mix-up changes plans for other teams. It's another annoyance to the already frustrating atmosphere of the NBA right now. Next up, lowest rest time. Lower rest time equals less time not playing in a game. This sounds good, right? Well, it's not. Players need rest between games. They need to get rid of their adrenaline rush from games to chemical imbalance from playing a professional sport and sort out their ruined sleep schedule. Without decent rest, players can't be at their peak for a huge match. This shorter rest time is really frustrating for lots of players as they really need the time to heal their bodies and minds. Without this rest, it could lead to injury and or a bad game for them and their team. Hopefully, the NBA reconsiders this new change as it's unhealthy for its players. Uncertain future. With all the recent changes to the NBA, the future of the sport seems very uncertain. Neither players nor the higher-ups seem to know what the future will hold for the NBA. Will we see even more changes due to the pandemic? If a player gets COVID-19, what will happen? Even with the vaccine being sent out, the future of the player is very uncertain. Even more players could be moved around in teams, and the overall sport could be flipped on its head. With the future being very uncertain, the players are not happy. They don't like not knowing what's going to happen or if they're going to be able to play. It's a very infuriating time for them right now. Next up, ongoing meetings. In recent times, the NBA has been having many meetings behind the scene on the state of the game. These meetings seem to be ongoing and could lead to a lot of things. It seems like the main reason for the players not being happy are these behind the scenes meetings. The players don't know what's going on behind the scenes, which leads to them being uncertain of their future in the game and the future of the game itself, What's going to happen? Are they going to be able to play? What are the future guidelines? Is there contingency? They really have no idea what's going on, and it's not good for them. It's no surprise that they're mad. What do you think about this? Next up, no concrete summer plans. Following on from one of the previous points with the uncertain future, plans for this year's summer season are not concrete. This could mean that the plans are fluid, which could lead to constant changes. But it could also mean that plans aren't laid out due to the possibility of the season being cancelled again. This again is not going well for the players, as they're very angry with the NBA and at others. It must be frustrating knowing that your livelihood is uncertain, you have no idea what's going to happen with a profession you love and you dedicate your life to, and that's our list. The NBA and the players are going through some tough times. We've been through a global pandemic and the sport was shut down for almost an entire year. Revenue streams have changed, players have changed, and the sport itself has changed. Nothing is the same and players aren't happy about it. Constant changes don't sit well with these players that made their livelihoods from the sport. This, as well as the player changes with recent injuries to Giannis Antetokounmpo and Trae Young, just don't keep players all that happy. It's not going to be a quick change to stop them from being furious. The sport and the company really need to communicate better with the players and the fans even more. Some trade rumors could also be heating up the players even further. Players like Ben Simmons possibly being moved to another team could rile up a lot of players. The game changes enough with the players being moved around, but recent pandemic changes don't help at all. Though the pandemic is coming to a close and the vaccines are being rolled out, players could still test positive for COVID-19. It's a real fear amongst the players and the fan base, which adds even more stress to the players. They already have to live such a strict lifestyle with their diet and location to play the sport at their peak, but being very cautious about not getting the virus and being even more confined than a normal person would be frustrating. Though some of the players may go over the top with their anger, you can really see where they're coming from in most cases. They really love the sport and it's literally their life. They just don't want to ruin something good or lose their livelihood. And that again is our list. Though these were not in any order, which do you think is the most interesting reason of them all? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to let us know what other reasons you know for them being furious, and also tell us what you think about the state of the NBA today. We hope you really enjoyed this list, and remember to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
From downtown, here comes LBJ! Look out! It's a fail spring. And here comes Giannis! Irving on a switch. He's got Grant. Irving. Oh no! Oh yes!
Steph is running into the front court. Draymond finds him another three. Got it! 62!
Like a triple. Here he is, LeBron on Zeller. LeBron all the way. Count the girls. Count it, baby!
Westbrook, the hesitation. Oh! The monster jam by Russell Westbrook and the foul! Oh my God!
Irving is 9 of 9, a steal! Irving at the horn! Oh! Kyrie!
James driving and smashing it.